Merry Christmas! This is just a short little compilation of every single ice or snow character that I've covered so we can wrap up the holiday season. Hope you guys have a good Christmas and a very happy 2025.
Now we move on to our very last Chomper. What the frick is this? The Yeti Chomper is this class's ice variant. How does an ice Chomper work? Well, he's ranged. Let me just say that again for the people in the back. This guy is a ranged Chomper. Now, that may sound like that's probably the most busted thing ever. It's really not. Chomper being ranged, in theory, seems quite good as you're able to not only one-shot people, you're able to slow zombies down from a further distance by spitting. That seems really good in theory, but in execution, this is the most awkward character to play. His base damage is 35, which is the same as a reg pea shooter, I believe, and he shoots at a pace of 1.5 spits per second. The projectile only lasts 2.5 seconds in the air before self-destructing. It will slowly freeze zombies until they're fully immobilized, making swallow kills actually easier to get. The only problem is, to actually hit somebody, you have to look up at a 45-degree angle, meaning you can't even look at the opponent you're trying to spit at. You know, isn't impossible, but like, problem is that it's so inconsistent and unreliable at times that you might as well just go up and just act as he's a shotgun, as the freeze impact damage is quicker than splashing people, because trust me, you ain't hitting shots with this guy from range. It's like the engineer's weapon, how it slowly goes downwards and then explodes mid-range. See, like, in theory this Chomper could be the best one, but he's not. He's probably tied for the middle because he's ice. So I'm gonna put this guy, I'm just gonna put him here. Boy, the final time I get to talk about Chomper and its looks. Thank Christ. Right, so what do I actually think about the look of this Chomper? I mean, yeah. You ever watched Monsters, Inc?
Welcome to the Himalaya!
Yeah, there you go. Blue lips, frozen teeth. You know, it's not the most original thing in the world. How many times can you design a Yeti without taking the Yeti in the game already and then just plastering that on a Chomper? He actually looks kind of different, especially with his not completely frozen but his almost frostbite stem. The icicles hanging off his lips making it look like a grown beard because his fur is cool. Overall, I think this guy's kind of meh, to be honest. I mean, he looks good. It's just I've nothing to say, you know? Like, I'm looking at the concept art here, and this would have been such a better design, but it's not really a Yeti, so they fit the design of the name well, but just design-wise, I'm gonna have to put this guy in B tier with Power Chomper. I mean, they both look cool. Pun intended. They look alright, nothing too spectacular.
Yeti Chomper is everything Reg Soldier is, plus the ability to slow down and eventually freeze plants completely, immobilizing them and making them stiller targets for you to finish them off either with your rifle or with your ZPG. This does great to help not only yourself finish off targets but the team as well, making it more of a viable pick for supporting getting vanquishes and assists. Or if you just want to be a selfish kill whore like myself and everyone else, you can just sit on roofs, pick them off, slow them down, finish them off. His damage isn't too great, basically half of Reg Soldier, because if it was the same with ice, no one would even pick Reg Soldier. So for that drawback, he's kind of more versatile version of Reg Soldier. So I'm going to put this guy into S tier without any hesitation. The variants in this game do a good job at kind of differentiating each other in terms of design, and Arctic Trooper being basically the same as Reg Soldier, you know, green, but with more bits of blue, because he's ice. Not just that, but his gun, while it is a one-to-one copy, even having the word froze, the gun model being blue looks better in my opinion. Plus him having an ice cube on his foot is kind of silly. It even makes little ice sounds when you're walking around. Wearing this army green jacket, a single mitten on his hand so he can actually, you know, use his gun, and him having a icy blue hood really lets you know that this guy has been working down in the Antarctic region. Oh, overall I like this guy's design a lot. Not the best thing in the world, but for an ice character is actually very well made. So I'm gonna put this guy in an A tier. Fire pea, but cold. Ice pea also originating as an original PvZ plant, shooting peas that slow down zombies they impact. In Garden Warfare 2, they do the same. Ice pea is almost identical to fire pea in terms of reload, rate of fire, and damage, without the added fire, but instead the freezing ability, which is marginally more useful than fire damage, as ice can slow zombies before completely freezing them. Direct shots can cause the freeze quicker, but you can still freeze them with splash damage. It just takes longer, and by longer, it takes a lot longer. Something you probably don't know about ice characters is that they can only freeze a certain opponent every 10 seconds. This doesn't affect groups of zombies who all get their own freeze cooldown. Ice P's Ice Cannon is an easy primary to use, so freezing zombies as Ice P is probably one of the easier ice variants to do so with. While his splash is slightly less consistent than other Ps, relying on direct hits to deal the most damage and quickly freeze enemies, and quickest freeze time, he does a great job at what he wants to do, being the only bunny hopping freeze character. I'm putting Ice P into A tier, just barely managing to get up there. While the damage isn't as high as Reg P or Fire P from his lack of overtime damage, he has the added bonus of being an ice variant and being very mobile, which gives him the edge. Ice P looks identical to the PvZ version, being a Reg P shooter, just blue, and instead of leaves on his head has icicles instead. I think does a great job at showing just how cold he actually is. His P-Pod's freezing more the further they go up till they completely frozen at the end. Like Fire P, it's very similar to Reg P, which just added element spice to them. One thing I'm not doing is comparing all variants to their Garden Warfare 1 counterparts. But here, I will say how Ice P in this game looks far more desaturated compared to Ice P in Garden Warfare 1. Just look at the difference between them and tell me which one you'd prefer. Also, the pupils changing from brown to blue is a pointless but nice addition to differ up the variants from one another. It's simple and I like it. I'm going to put Ice P into B tier for design. Reg P redesign done right. Not so much that the character shines on their own, but has enough to make them stand out. Also looking accurate to the original PvZ1, Fire P, and not even PvZ1, PvZ2, is a needed addition for these variants.
JVC will return after these messages.
Casey Perry, probably one of the saddest characters in Garden Warfare 2. He was once one of the more solid characters that hit consistent damage and could freeze plants fairly quickly, but upon later down the line, he had his overall damage cut, freezing capabilities cut, in more than half, leaving him one of the weaker characters on the zombie team overall. Now, the ice effect is still useful to a certain degree, just isn't good at fully immobilizing plants, rather it's still fairly alright at slowing them down. He has a fire rate of 4 shots per second that all deal anywhere between 3 to 16 damage, with a magazine size of 15 to 18 with an upgrade. It would take 9 direct shots to freeze a plant, and when splashing only would take a few more, around 13 to 14. His DPS being marginally the same as Sanitation Expert at 54 DPS. It seems pretty good, but with how his shots are kind of downwards after a certain while and the fact that they don't travel far at all, leaves this guy to being probably the worst engineer in the class. I'm gonna have to put him into D tier. Not that strong. It has a hard time vanquishing higher held plants like torchwoods, citrons, and even corns. And he probably has hypothermia, so his ass is probably ice cold. Oh yeah, no visible ass crack, F tier. Imagine electrician, but more cool. His outfit being similar to electrician and plumber is yellow, but this guy has blue icicles now, so he's an AC on his back, which is why he probably has the lowest body temperature and why his arms are blue, because cold. His weapon being the equivalent to a space gun with a fan on it, his cord around him being the wires of the AC, being wrapped around his arm and torso, his shoe has the grippers out, because of course it does, and probably because they've been freezing and cracking, causing it to rip. AC Perry is such a neat idea for an ice variant. The cold being caused due to the air conditioning on his back breaking, and for multiple AC problems in general, it's just a genius way of explaining why this guy's so cold all the time. Probably one of the smartest designs for this class. The colours all actually meld into each other nicely, and the aesthetic being really chill. There's a reason my dad left. Gonna give AC Perry a B tier. Really like what they did for this variant as a whole, just a bit much yellow and blue, but that's okay. A kind of original idea for an ice variant for once, not just snow or ice, but air being the factor for why he's so cold. Frozen Citron is so similar, I'll condense it in less than about 5 seconds. Frozen Citron deals slightly less damage with the trade-off of slowing and freezing zombies.
Well done!
The overall damage decrease causes the DPS to be lower, making Frozen less deadly. However, being an ice character makes him good by default, as ice is by far the strongest element in the game. Frozen goes into A tier like Reg Citron, almost a 1-for-1. The colour scheme here being a nice light blue shade. The colour being clean ice and not dirty ice, similar to Ice P's. He appears more snow-like rather than ice. The textures of the cracked peels and shell on his body look nice, and when he transforms into the ball, it does work, but it's very blandish. He doesn't build much off of Reg Citron. I mean, the hair is definitely more average mohawk than the last one, and his cannon being quite coolly designed. I'm pretty sure I make the cool ice pawn every ice variant. Ice plants compared to ice zombies just overall don't look anywhere near as nice. These eyes scare me. He looks like KO Joe from whatever that show is called. The design is a bit bland. There's not really much going on here. Could have done better on this design, like having it be a gradient of Reg Citron and Frozen Citron. I'll take it over nothing. I'm gonna give him C tier. If you're gonna give me this design, I'll take it. That's really it. Now, while Goalie Star is a hockey-themed all-star, there's already a hockey-themed all-star named Hockey Star, who looks kind of like a goalie for hockey, when the goalie for hockey is Goalie Star, even though that goes against the fact that Goalie Star is a hockey star, when Hockey Star is the hockey star, and that I constantly get these two mixed up every time I play the game, and it's either that my mind is starting to shit itself and... Goalie Star is the ice variant of the class, being that he freezes plants like any other snow or ice character. That makes him good at dealing with every type of plant, and especially good with targets or chompers, with a max of only 6 damage up close, a minimum of 3 at longer ranges. However, this guy has the second highest overheat time and same projectile speed as Reg and Cricket. The ice effect makes this guy so good, as paired with his stable primary and lack of bloom or recoil, he becomes a powerhouse. The first 3 all-stars are all sort of similar to each other, firing in very similar ways with the same fire rate and projectile speed. Goalie Star have an advantage with the ice effect, which makes it less annoying to deal with highly mobile classes. However, the lack of long range damage at only 3 or 4 at long ranges makes him less optimal, especially when the camera shakes upon firing. It's not recoil, it's not bloom, it just shakes a lot. Goalie is a strong variant who can defend points well while being great offensively. With the added game crash ability his minigun has, he goes into A tier. All around solid for medium to close range, but starts to fall off at longer ranges. Like most all-stars tend to do anyway, this guy is a very strong variant. Let's have a look here. Oh my god! So Jason Voorhees paid a visit. See, Goalie Star is not Hockey Star, but he is a hockey-themed all-star. It's pretty iconic for this class all around. And the little holes is where he breathes through, not only through the nose, but it looks like he's a frown, which is funny. His jumper being more baggy, you know, to kind of compensate for how cold it would be on an ice ring, I presume, and his weapon looks like a mix between a freezer and a crossbow. Does that make sense? Think of the Apex Plasma Master Paragon. Do you know the way it's like a big crossbow? Yeah, it looks like one of them. And the cooler being on the top, probably where the ice pucks are being held. Yeah, most of these all-star designs are pretty alright. They're pretty okay. They're not the worst. However, this guy is kind of alright. I'm gonna put him into C tier as well. Ice Cactus is copy and pasting the copy and pasted Fire Cactus, but she must have pissed off Mr. Big because she was ice. Her shots, of course, as you should know by this point, slow down zombies when shot. If you didn't know that, then you haven't been studying. Her damage being weaker than Reg Cactus, being 20 damage but only dealing 25 to the head, with a lower DPS of only 60, but her damage falls off 5 meters before fire, ice being a stronger element than fire, as it physically alters the zombies rather than damaging. So I'd say in theory, Ice Cactus is better. In theory, because with how many shots it takes to freeze a zombie, being up to 4 with an ice upgrade, it sounds good, but it feels less effective, because honestly, she's got quite spread to her primary. Ice is a side grade to fire, which is a side grade to Reg, but still semi-good. I wouldn't say she's a bad Cactus, but I'd definitely say she's the weakest of the 3 so far. I'd also like to put her into C tier. Since they both have similar damage, they feel very similar, but are completely different elements. Since both are great and worth playing, if played right, can be utterly devastating. So after Sonic Boom, Fire and Ice, you'd think that we'd actually get to the good variants now. Oh my god. Now, similar to Fire Cactus, Ice is just a regular cactus after going outside in October past 7 PM. Going from green to blue gives us a frostbite effect, which I think works well. Her mouth, arms and head having ice crystals on them too, and her prickles being completely frozen are great touches. I think the overall colour of the blue is a bit of a downgrade from the Garden Warfare 1 counterpart, being way more desaturated and darker, but other than that, I think her design is on level with Fire Cactus. She also goes into B tier for me. Her original blue base would have put her into A tier, but due to the change, she can sit in B tier. Both elements have looked great so far, and hopefully this level of consistency stays for the rest of the variants. Like, I don't know, I'm recording this before I even give my rank.